What's the answer?
1975. Hi, I'm Chris Quinn, and welcome to Out of Bounds. This is our show after Inside Fort Worth Business, and I've got a distinguished group with me today that also includes Dr. Andrew J. Walker, Director of the Amon Carter Museum of American Art, visionary and spokesperson for the Cultural District and Arts Community. Thank you for being with us. Mitch Whitten, who's the Vice President of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, wish I could talk. Hannah Behrens with Briggs Freeman Sotheby, and also very involved with Sister Cities. Carlo Capua, who is principal of Z's Cafe, went to TCU, and is also involved with Sister Cities.
Correct.
And we are Out of Bounds. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
Like I'm doing
So we are talking about, Out of Bounds, right. So we're talking about transit, and what do you all feel like the biggest challenge that we face with transit today? Because let me tell you what I think about transit. Okay, who wants to know what I think about transit?
I do.
I'd
What do you
love to.
think?
Yeah.
Tell us.
We are, when I think about transit, is the main thing I think is that we don't have transit to the airport. So when I think about one of the biggest assets about living in Fort Worth is that we're next door to Dallas. I love that. Dallas is an international city. But when I talk about going to Dallas, I have to stop 18 times. So A, I don't have trail to Dallas, and B, I don't have transportation to the airport. So then when you talk about transportation around the city, I think we're at a real disadvantage, and I think we missed the boat 25 years ago. So I know we're moving forward on transit, but once again, I think it's kind of like when we talk about the film industry, right? We're moving forward, but we missed those incentives almost 25 years ago. So we are trying to catch up on the transit train, just like we are with bike lanes. So we're Out of Bounds. I'm Chris Quinn, and I want answers because I think transit is so important. And these are the influencers. These are the people of tomorrow that can help us get answers. Mitch Whitten, how do we solve our transit issues and start the conversation? We've got the conversation going. How do we get answers?
Well, I think it's continuing that conversation. We have a master plan, and that a lot of people believe we need to support the master plan that the T has developed for Transportation Authority, but it's also going to be thinking big. And I think one of the biggest challenges we face is that technology is changing. Is that the technology around transit. So we do need to support the transportation we have, but what are autonomous vehicles that are now being tested around Cowboy Stadium? What is the implication for that? What role do the trails play? What role do road planning? What role does that play? So that's shifting technology now. 25 years ago it was all rail. We think that rail is a great introduction to the city, with TexRail coming on board next year. It's going to make a great first impression and connectivity with the airport. But we need to look now 25 years in the future and see where we're going.
Well, I agree. So the short-term solution is make I-35 bigger. But you can make I-35 40 lanes, and it's going to be filled up with cars if we keep going the same direction.
Exactly.
I think that sort of the mid-level solution is transit, is rail, right, to get you to the airport. But long-term, I love the idea of autonomous vehicles. I think we should be looking at, like Elon Musk is doing, the Hyperloop, the underground, city to city via total underground that takes you like 300 miles an hour. I mean, Henry Ford said if you would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses 100 years ago. They wouldn't have said automobiles. So we need to start thinking outside the box and do things that are really cutting edge to keep Fort Worth being bold.
Well, and I would say looking at the development around that too. Are we developing homes that are conducive to where you can step outside your door and walk to the grocery store, and looking at what we develop around the transit, not just how transit is developed,
That's right.
but everything that's integrated and connected to transit as a lifestyle.
And not to, again, use other cities, but when I lived in Chicago, I walked everywhere because I could. It might take a little longer. I might have to plan that 45 minutes to be able to get to where I wanted to. But it was largely because it was connected to transit. It was connected to walkways, and cars were impractical. In fact, I didn't even have a car when I lived in Chicago. And so that's the reverse culture, at least from an outsider's view, in Fort Worth, where people are very attached to their cars. It reads convenience, but I tell you, if we had a mass transit system that worked as Hannah was saying, that convenience would begin to change. And I know for sure I would use the buses
if I knew there was reliability, there was predictability, and the routes were more conducive to where, I would need to go.
So let me bring up a topic. May I?
Yeah.
Do you all think the friendly is, and it's a yes no question, my favorite type question, is the city bus friendly? Because I don't feel like that I can get from Sundance Square to Magnolia I don't feel like that I can even travel throughout the city on the buses. I mean, I know they're moving towards that, and there's people that are bringing us forward, but going back 10 years ago working with the transit authority is that compared to other cities, that I feel like I'm playing catch up. So if I said, let's go, I know where I can go get on a bus, but from a standpoint of I can go put my bike on the bus, right? And I can travel throughout the bus, but I meet tourists all the time, right? Traveling through the cultural district or whenever, they're kind of looking away, but I don't feel like our bus system is friendly for us to actually it's about connecting the city, right?
Yes.
So I go on and I go, okay, great, I can go to, what do you all do great? People come for the beer gardens, right? The garden's the right word, or?
Well, for our ale trail.
Ale trail, which
Sure,
is,
sure.
people come from all over the world to see the ale trail, right? Or, and you look on that and it's like, wow, I wish there was a bus that took me the same way. So let's talk about how do we do that? Because Molly downtown, I think, is still in existence.
It's where
It is.
Go ahead.
Well, all I'd say is there's a circulator plan, and Mitch, you may know more of the details with the T that exists over time, and it is about connecting communities in an interlaced way that is both easy and, I don't want to say convenient, but it is convenient. It's more convenient, certainly to the visitor market. And there's one about to be launched that will connect downtown to the cultural district. And people have worked a really long time to make this possible. And the issues, as I see them as a potential benefiter, is will people use it? Because if people don't use it, then that idea will actually go away pretty quickly. And so I think part of the city's responsibility, including all of us and the work that we do, is to be models for that use, however that might be. And that's at least one of my points.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with Andrew in that we've got to, those of us that have lived in Fort Worth for so many years, we've been dependent on our cars and our little routes, and we know the ins and outs and how to navigate with vehicle traffic. We've got to be the one to kind of step forward and say, okay, we're willing to learn something new, even though we've already got our convenience model down for ourselves personally, really taking that step to say, okay, let's engage with this process as well, and not just be an issue for the visitors or people that are living here without a car, but that we've got to take that step to move forward and say, okay, I'm going to try it just one day a month or something.
Well, and Hannah, I think it's going to be a multi-pronged approach, and I think it's hard to get away from that. So certainly we need a bus system that's in that master plan. We also have a great bike share system. We were way ahead on that bike share, and this Thanksgiving weekend I saw a lot of bike shares out. 25% of those users are visitors. We are also in part of our region as a test market for an Uber Bell helicopter flying taxi. Now that sounds far in the future, but that sounds far in the future. That sounds far in the future, but really 10 years goes by really fast, and we will see those being piloted and tested in our region. Just as we see Panther Island showing some sort of river traffic connecting cultural district with the north side. So I think it's going to take a multi-pronged approach.
Well, yeah, over 100 years ago, when all the cowboys had their horses, I mean, you're used to having your horse and getting on it and going wherever you wanted, and the same is true with a car. I don't know if Fort Worth will ever be a true bus culture, but to your question, is it a bus culture? Yeah, kind of. Is it optimized? Probably not, but do you want to continue to pump millions of dollars into a short-term solution, or would you rather invest that money in something that's going to be a little more sustainable?
I think that's a good question.
Yeah, and the cool thing is the conversation started, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And the nice thing is that eventually I can put my bike on the bus and go to different areas and take the different things. And that's the great thing is that we love our city. We love the great things that are going on with all the different areas. And it's easy to come up and say, to criticize, critique, analyze, and judge. The main thing that we're trying to do is start the conversation, because more than anything, I think each and every one of us who are from here, We love the city. We love what the city stands for. If we aren't from here, we could become transplants up here, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's the, go ahead.
Well, I have to add, Chris, I mean, I think that that's one of the exciting things about a very challenging situation, and transportation is a challenging situation for any community. But one of the things that's exciting is it's really engaged the next generation that has said, we want to have a voice in this, and we need you to step up and have a voice and continue to be involved. And that's one of the exciting things for me, is to see them come on board with this.
You know, because it is becoming Fort Worth is increasingly becoming a transplant city. So people are bringing new expectations or expectations from other places. That's right.
Yeah. I guess the term, what was the term they used last week? Bedroom community, in which all these guys just kind of cringed, and I was like, I hadn't heard that term before.
So people that live in Fort Worth and work somewhere else.
Yeah. So once again, it's the dialogue that's starting. So I appreciate you all being
Thanks, Chris.
here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
great session of Out of Bounds. Please share our content. Please give us your ideas. You know, the dialogue is open. Follow hashtag #CFortWorth.
Hashtag #CFortWorth.
Eamon Carter,
Yeah, always.
always. Lots of things going on. Briggs, Freeman, Sotheby.
Z's Cafe, chicken salad.
Right on.
Best in the city.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Out of Bounds, Inside Fort Worth Business. Everyone have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Quinn.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to take a couple of pictures. We're going to take